What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, time to talk some football. I'm your host, SAJ, coming to you live from the Stevie Wonder School of Refereeing. You'll see why I said that in just a little bit. This guy over here.
What's up, everybody? I'm BD coming at you from the Warehouse Music Studios.
Nice. Can you get me a one of those bootleg tapes, please?
Yeah, I wish I could.
So, it is Tuesday. It's time to start talking some football. So we have a bunch of stuff to talk about this week, especially with our friends over in the NAL. There's been a lot of change, a lot
of stuff going on over there. Whole lot of stuff.
So, that being the case, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about sorry, I'm playing around with my camera a little bit here.
Well, actually, at first, I guess we start going on the games.
I'm killing all of my power feeds to everything, which is fine. Why don't we talk a little bit?
You back?
Hang on, technical difficulties.
Oh, geez.
There we go.
All right.
You just got to shake the wires a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. It's fine. I'll say before we start getting into the games, I think, we should mention the breaking news that just happened. Former quarterback for the Patriots and Houston Texans, Ryan Mallett, passed away. Drowning incident in Florida. Sounds horrible. Prayers for his family and all that. That's, dude was 35. That sucks. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's way too young for anybody to be passing away. And so, as Brian said, thoughts and prayers for his family as they deal with this, especially, we're getting ready to come up to, a holiday weekend. And so now, this holiday rather is going to be forever remembered as this tough to lose a loved one for the family. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about some thoughts and prayers for the USFL playoff weekend this weekend. I got to watch some of the games. I did not get to watch all of them.
I watched pretty much all the games, or both of them, and almost all of them.
Yeah, and it was not a very entertaining week for football. Brian, why don't you go ahead and walk us through that Panthers Maulers game?
So that first game, the Saturday game, Panthers and Maulers, that one was a hard watch. That first half, even the first quarter was just, it was just kind of garbage football. It was like a 3-3 tie at the end. Second quarter, Pittsburgh actually came back, scored a touchdown, but it just, it looked like I understood why none of the teams in that division had a winning record. But, halftime coach must have given a hell of a speech for both teams because they came out. Michigan came out third quarter, scored 14 points, took a lead into the fourth quarter, and then in Pittsburgh, they went 17-10 to in that fourth to actually tie it up, go to overtime. They have similar overtime rules as the XFL. You have the shootout from the 2-point or from the 2-yard line for 2 points each, and best out of 3 to start it. Michigan went 2 for 2, and Pittsburgh went 2 for 2. Michigan didn't score, so Pittsburgh won it by 4 points. It was definitely a very, very entertaining end to what for a good chunk of it was a pretty boring game.
Yes. So looking at the numbers, just, from the stats alone, that first half was really painful to watch. But Perry with the Panthers went 23 of 38, 370 yards, which in and of itself is incredible, right? 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The pick stinks, but still came out with almost a 100 QBR rating. The Maulers quarterback
he had 370 yards because they weren't doing crap on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Williams went 23 of 40, only 203 in the air, one touchdown, but he was backed up with 94 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So, most of the rushing yards came from him, probably, either designed or, broken plays. We've talked about that before. This is playoff football. This is where you don't hold back on your quarterback. This
Yeah.
is where you use every tool in the toolbox you got, right? Gross check for the Maulers, 14 carries, 32 yards, averaging about 2.3. So not the greatest, but not horrible, right? I mean, those are decent numbers. You can't really count on that, on the ground, for the Panthers, Perry, their quarterback, had the most carries, 7 carries for 22 yards. Sims had the best average, but that's because he had 1 carry for 15 yards. Total on the ground, they had 40 yards total, and that's not going to get you anywhere. Right?
Especially when you get 15 yards on 1 carry and then 22 more yards from your quarterback. That's 3 yards for everybody else. So, but credit to Pittsburgh. They're a really good defensive team. Talking through the whole broadcast, they said that Pittsburgh is the best defensive team in the league. So, they did a really good job of shutting that run game down.
Yeah. So and that's going to be really interesting to see a high-powered defense going up against a high-powered offense, right? We've seen lots of Super Bowls in the NFL that way. And so this is going to be very reminiscent of a game like that.
And usually it turns out that the defense wins those matchups. So,
So Pittsburgh may sneak one in, 4-6, backdooring into the playoffs and wind up being championships, kind of like Arlington with the XFL, Nobody counted on them. And yes, shout out to our friend Daryl, the Horns Forward podcast, right? We slept on Arlington. Where are my sunglasses? But we slept on Arlington and they wound up winning the championship. And so it all comes down to, just that hunger, that drive, and everything falling into place, which it did, right?
Yep,
so it
absolutely.
Did for Pittsburgh, did for Arlington, and it may fall into place for Pittsburgh this next weekend too. But pretty boring game to that finish. That's where it kind of mattered. Now, this next game, I got to catch some of it, and I was absolutely shocked with how this game started. Okay. New Orleans, kind of secret favorite. I know that the uniforms are a little bit goofy, but I kind of like that look, right? 7-3 going into this, they had a hell of a chance. But from the beginning, they were playing uphill. It was a battle the entire way.
It got ugly. It got ugly early, and it pretty much stayed ugly. New Orleans tried to think about maybe possibly getting a run together at the very end, but they, at no point in time in that game did they really ever have a shot. I mean, just Magoo just absolutely torched New Orleans.
Oh yeah. So, going back to the box score, New Orleans started out behind 2 points, right? Birmingham was able to get 3 field goals, if I remember correctly, to New Orleans' touchdown, right? So, I mean, that's looking pretty sharp when you go into the second quarter. However, second quarter, Birmingham, stepped on the gas and not only scored 17 unanswered points, they were able to control pretty much everything that New Orleans was doing. There wasn't really much that they could do at all, which is really surprising because New Orleans has a fabulous quarterback, right?
They do, yeah.
Not this Sunday, but Bethel Thompson, which I would love to see what he could do with a solidly built team. Not saying that New Orleans is not a solidly built team. They're a good team. But they're obviously not as solidly built as Birmingham is. But Bethel Thompson went 26 of 50, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, right? Not good for anybody. Hell, I would love to see what a guy like this could do in the XFL, and there's talk of some of that. And we'll get to that in a little bit, but there's talk of potential crossovers, right? Players going to the opposite leagues to have better opportunities. So that could be something that we may be looking at this offseason, right? But kicking it back over to the USFL talk, on the ground, the Breakers had 79 yards, so not bad. Hills and Jones carried the bulk, and 30 and 27 yards respectively. But it just wasn't enough to make that much of a difference. And I think a lot of that came in the third and fourth quarter, right?
Yeah.
Magoo, of course, he had himself a day, 21 to 31, 310 yards, averaging 10 yards per play, right? 139.8 QBR. Phenomenal numbers.
Oh, he was torching them, and I mean, I think we were all saying, in the fourth quarter, why was he playing at all?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a championship game you got to prep for, and this game was well in hand. So
well, and they did pull him towards the very end. I think with the last 4 minutes in the game, they pulled him out. But they didn't actually say. Well, I don't even know if Birmingham's offense took the field. I think they did for the last 2 drives.
I think they did, and they just ran it.
Yeah,
just ran the ball out, and that was it.
Yeah, but looking at talking about that two-headed attack, let's look at these rushing numbers, man. 245 yards on the ground to go with Magoo's 310 in the air.
Yeah,
that is how you're going to win a game easily. So Pearson and Magoo, and Marable added up for the bulk of everything, right? Pearson had 84, Magoo had 84, and Marable had 72. So that right there, man, that's just insane numbers.
Oh yeah, and I mean a lot of those Magoo runs, those were legit called. Some of them were broken down plays that he just made great plays on and got some yardage and kind of extended it. But some of those were called QB sneaks, and he just took off and was gone.
Yeah,
it was like I said, through the air, on the ground. Dude, Magoo just absolutely torched them this weekend.
Well, and we've seen throughout the season that Birmingham has an incredible offensive line. So they can give him that coverage that he needs to be able to jet out to the side and pick up an easy 10, 15, whatever he can get. The one thing I do like about him is this is kind of bad for, a quarterback who's looking for longevity, but I do like the fact that he's a little bit of a gunslinger in that sense, that he doesn't just slide.
Oh no, he was going for extra yards.
Mm-hmm. So it's that makes for good football. It's good football to watch. Not so good on a player's career, obviously, right? People get knees blown out, ACLs torn up, things like that, and then that's kind of it, right? But it makes for good football to watch in the moment. So again, not a great game to watch. New Orleans just did not show up at all, and I wish I knew, because Birmingham's defense is good. I don't think they were that good. So it's going to be an interesting championship game, right?
It is.
So you obviously have a very high-powered offense in the Stallions going up against a very, very strong Pittsburgh defense. But Birmingham's defense, showed a lot of flex this weekend against a really strong team. So I'm almost wondering if Birmingham isn't just going to, have enough to just be able to just, blaze their way through this game. And I hope that that's not the case.
I don't know. I mean, Pittsburgh is such a good defensive team that I think Birmingham's going to struggle.
They're definitely going to struggle.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that Birmingham is going to struggle with this game a bit, but to what extent?
I don't think anybody's expecting them to have 300 yards in the air and 250 yards on the ground. I mean, I think that they'd be lucky to have half that, at least the ground game. But
well, and I'm just curious if Pittsburgh's even going to put up points on the board, anything beyond field goals. I'm really wondering if their offense is even going to have enough to be able to get into the red zone, let alone, into the end zone.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it may be a really tough game to watch, or it may be from a defensive standpoint, it may be an incredible game to watch, right? Both teams are going to put up, a hell of a fight. Hopefully Pittsburgh can hang in there and do something to keep Birmingham out of the end zone so they have a chance to compete. Because if Pittsburgh's going to rely on their offense to do anything in this game, it's going to be over before it starts. So, but that's pretty much it. We're kind of wrapping up the tail end of the USFL season here, right? Championship game is this Saturday at 7 p.m. Central. So you're definitely going to want to tune in and try and catch that. I believe the way the players' contracts are structured is exactly the way the XFL's been structured, that they have like a 2-day cool-off period from their final game in which they can be contacted for, other venues to play, if you will, whether it be XFL, NFL, CFL, things like that, right? So I'm pretty sure that you're going to start seeing names popping up for, mini camps and, team activities for the NFL for some of the better players in the USFL. I don't think there's going to be nearly as many from the USFL showing up for the NFL stuff, just simply because of the way the schedules have worked out. They're not going to have a whole lot of time to rest. We've talked about that, ad nauseum, right? I just don't know that they're going to have a lot of time. So a lot of the players probably are not going to have as many opportunities as they would have coming from, the XFL. Having said that, though, I'm sure there are going to be some names that are going to be popping up. So we are going to be keeping a close eye on that, especially the Houston players, because there were some great Houston players. So it'll be, it'll be good TV to watch. See, some of these USFL names potentially pop up in the NFL.
Have you heard of any yet? I don't.
I know there are some from last year's USFL teams that got opportunities because they weren't really competing against anything, right?
Yeah. But I don't, because when XFL ended, into the regular season, all the teams that didn't make the playoffs, those players got the invites, and then after the first round of the playoffs, but I don't think I've heard of any of the teams that didn't make the playoffs getting any kind of like camp invites or OTA invites or anything like that.
From last year, they had 21 players that signed with the USFL. And Kyle Sloter was one of them.
Okay.
So most of these names are not necessarily huge names. Chris Odom from the Houston Gamblers, I remember him. But most of these other players, Darius Shepard, we know Darius Shepard, right? Darius Shepard was in the XFL this season.
Yep.
So he went from the New Jersey Generals last year to the Broncos, didn't make the cut with the Broncos, and then was in the XFL, and he's gonna get an opportunity again to be back in the XFL. I mean the NFL. There's also trying to see if some of these other players are getting opportunities. Right now, they don't have really any information, for 2023. Any players in the
yeah, that's what I was asking about, looking for. I hadn't seen anything, and I've kind of checked a couple times, and it's really weird how hard it is to get news for the USFL. I don't know. It's hard to find info about them when you're looking for it. So I didn't see anything. Hadn't heard anything about any players this year getting picked up or invited.
Yeah.
So I don't. Maybe it's they're not available until the end of the season, like for completely, or I don't know.
Maybe their contract might be a little bit different. I just found out something interesting though. Darius Shepard, notably one of the best receivers that was in the XFL this last season, right?
Yep.
He apparently was originally signed by the Packers in 2020 and was cut. Way to go, Green Bay.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yep. Way to go. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to keep our eye out for it. And as, the playoffs conclude and, pieces start moving around, we'll keep everybody updated on what we find. But right now, there's really not any information out there as far as, USFL current players that are going to get opportunities to go to the NFL. I think what you're going to see is a lot of those kind of standout stars going to the, XFL this next year. And you'll probably see those, XFL stars that don't make a roster potentially crossing over and going to the USFL. But you're going to see a lot of movement. I'm sure of that. So that being the USFL, goodbye, USFL. We're done talking about you. Let's talk about week 15 of the IFL. A lot of games, a lot of funky stuff going on. And Iowa, apparently the barn burnt down to the ground and they had nothing left, just like we thought.
Yep.
So, first game of the week was Green Bay Blizzard at the Sioux Falls Storm. And Green Bay lost a close one, 45-47. Looks like that was a bit of a battle back and forth both ways.
Missed it by that much.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Green Bay just did not have enough in the tank to be able to pull it off. So, what I would like to look at while we're talking about this is the new standings. So, Green Bay is sitting towards the bottom at a solid 6-6. Sioux Falls is now at 7-5, right? Not really any threat to Frisco, but they are a threat to second and third place, right? So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Sioux Falls as we're closing in towards what this is week going into week 16.
Going into week 16, we've got 3 more weeks to go.
Yep, so 3 more weeks. So every game is going to count now. Moving on, Massachusetts Pirates pretty much hornswoggled the Tulsa Oilers 43-24. We kind of saw that one coming. I mean, Tulsa is at the bottom at now 1-12. So you knew that game was not going to be super, super close.
Tulsa forgot they were playing Arena League. They thought that was like a regular football game.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that Massachusetts didn't put more on the board against, a mediocre team. Especially with Massachusetts, being in second place.
Yeah.
You'd think that they'd be a little bit stronger team. They knew that they had it secured or something. I don't know. But they should have put up a lot more points. Now, let's talk about your favorite team. The Quad City Steam Loggers.
I mean, they're good at football, at arena football, and they're just not very good at naming their team.
Nope, not at all. This one was at no point did Iowa have any semblance of a chance of winning this. So first quarter ended 21-9. Okay. Obviously, Iowa was down. Second quarter, Steam Wheelers threw on another 21. Iowa decided, okay, we're going to put up 14, right? Kind of not really closing the gap, but, I mean, the hemorrhaging wasn't as bad. And then I guess they took a break at halftime and forgot to come back out.
They coach called up and said, hey, let's go back out. Second half, they're like, nah.
Didn't put up a single point in the third quarter. Steamrollers put up 6. Okay. So, right? Iowa put up some defense, but they sure didn't put up any offense. And then the fourth quarter, Quad City threw on another 15. Best Iowa could do was rally up 12 points. And so at that point, I mean, it was just over with. So looking at the quarterback comparisons, Iowa's quarterback went 19 of 31, 153 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Quad City's quarterback, 10 of 13, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. He wasn't even trying, you know?
Nope.
Everything he threw up was basically, going to be caught for positive yardage, man. I mean, that's insane. Rushing, Iowa had 74 yards. Here's the best part. You're going to love this. In a high-powered offense, usually aerial attack style game, Quad City had 181 yards rushing.
181 yards in an arena game.
Holy
crap.
An arena game, guys. That
six touchdowns. 181 yards.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's got to be some kind of record. If not, it's real damn close to it. But yeah, this is not a pretty game for Iowa, and I feel really bad for Iowa. Iowa has dropped to 3-10 for the season, effectively ending their season. So, we'll see how the big dogs play out, right? Frisco Fighters beat Bay Area Panthers 38-45, and this one looked like a little bit of a dogfight, right?
It was. I actually watched this whole game, and it was. I mean, Bay Area came to play, and I mean they're up there in the Western Division towards the top. So these are kind of two of the best teams in the league were going at it, and they it was a dogfight. It was a good game to watch.
Yeah. So Bay Area got out early in the first quarter. They scored 19 points. Frisco only scored 14, right? Which is kind of unlike Frisco. But obviously they were playing a team that came to play, so they had a little bit of a struggle on their hands. Second quarter, Frisco kind of brought it back. They scored 16, and Bay Area only scored 12. So Frisco was behind 1 point going into the half, right? Bay Area comes out in the third quarter, puts up 7. Frisco puts up nothing, effectively putting them behind 8 points, right? And then Frisco, I guess, decided at that point that this losing thing doesn't feel so good. And they decided to catch up, and they wound up putting up 15, and Bay Area put up nothing, which gave them the lead and gave them the win at the end of the game. So looking at the individual stats, Bay Area's quarterback went 10 of 19, 95 yards, but they also had 63 yards on the ground. A lot more reasonable for arena game, right? Frisco's quarterback went 17 to 27, 136, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I forgot to mention that Bay Area's quarterback threw 4 touchdowns and 1 pick.
Yep.
But on the ground for Frisco, they had 65, but they had 3 touchdowns. Okay. And so that's what helped them, kind of manage this game a little bit better. So Frisco moves on. Bay Area takes the loss. And go back up, computer. Let's go to the next game. The Vegas Nighthawks
forgot they were roasted.
Yeah, they got completely roasted by the Duke City Gladiators, 53-30. Not a close game. Not an enjoyable football game to watch. I caught some highlights of most of these games. But I caught highlights of that one, and it did not look good at all. Vegas did not play well, and that was really surprising because Vegas has at least put up some competition in some of these games. And I'm not saying that they played, absolutely horribly, but they didn't play as strong as they've played in some other games, and it cost them, especially against Duke City, who it was only 1 game ahead of them,
Yeah.
So it was just not Vegas's night for sure.
I didn't get to catch any of that one. I was watching the Frisco game. They were on at the same time. I was kind of poking back and forth between the final two, the Tucson and Northern Arizona, and then San Diego and regular Arizona.
Yeah. So I did catch some of this one while we were at the Gunslingers game, and it did not look good. It was hard to watch and concentrate. But moving on to the second to the last game of the week, Tucson Sugar Skulls served it up to Northern Arizona 42-28. So Arizona did not have a good football weekend.
No, another team this week that forgot they were playing arena football.
Yep. That one's not really, I mean, I'm sure there's some highlights to talk about there, but Tucson was in control of that game.
Not really. I would say I watched a little bit of it. There weren't too many highlights.
Yeah. So our last game of the week, though, definitely was a good game to watch. A nice high-scoring offensive game, and it was San Diego versus Arizona. Arizona came out with the win, 57-48. And, oh, nice. I just noticed that on the IFL, they even put the attendance numbers.
Oh, do they really?
Awesome. Yeah. 11,097. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's kind of, so I was watching a lot of football this weekend. I was watching the USFL. I was watching the Gunslingers on YouTube. I had another screen. I was watching the IFL on YouTube. So I was kind of, multitasking here. But I was really impressed with the attendance of the IFL games that I watched,
yeah, even for the losing teams, right?
Yep.
Let's go back. Let's quick talk about it. San Diego had two quarterbacks play. Probably one was a trick play. But Davis went 18-38, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then Rudy Johnson, I'm sorry, he's their running back. So he dual role, right? He threw 1 for 21 yards. That led to a touchdown. So that's pretty good. Arizona had Drew Powell. He went 17-23, 224, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. So pretty solid offense, right? San Diego, I guess they didn't believe in bringing a running game. They only put up 22 yards total. And but
they got 3 touchdowns out of those 22 yards. So
yeah. But well, I guess
5 attempts. They had 5 rushing attempts. 3 of those were touchdowns. So I mean,
yeah,
if you score touchdowns on 60% of your plays, you're not doing too bad.
Yeah. If we look at Arizona's numbers, though, 44 of the 60 rushing yards came from Powell. So that's the quarterback just, cutting bait and running.
Yeah.
So, chances are they were probably blown plays and he just scrambled to get what he could get. But it helped out, though, because he got a touchdown. Gardner got a touchdown. Jamal got 6 yards on a carry, but didn't get himself a touchdown, which I guess at that point it doesn't really matter if you're scoring 6 touchdowns in the air and 2 more on the ground.
Yeah.
So good game overall, but
it was enjoyable game to watch.
Let's go back. Let's look at the Vegas Nighthawks game. Because Vegas was not at home. Let's look at Duke City.
So they don't have attendance for all of them because the Duke City said 0. Frisco says 0. So I guess only some of them post attendance.
Quad City had 0. So I guess they don't.
Northern Arizona had 2,900. So
okay.
I guess it's hit or miss whether they post the attendance numbers or not.
Okay. IFL do better. This is important, right?
Yep.
It's a good way for fans to track how the team is doing. But still, that's a nice feature to have. Even though they don't necessarily use it, it's a nice feature to have. So let's look forward to.
Wish the NAL would do that too.
I wish the NAL would do a lot of things. And we're going to talk about the NFL or NAL. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about them. Let's look forward to this next week, week 17. Sioux Falls Storm at Iowa Barnstormers. That's going to be a win for Sioux Falls.
You're ahead of week 16 is where we're at.
I'm sorry. Sioux Falls Storm at Frisco Fighters.
Yes.
That should be a good game. I'm counting on Frisco to get the win. Green Bay at Tulsa. That should be a win for Green Bay, hopefully.
You would hope.
Vegas Nighthawks at Tucson Sugar Skulls. Nobody's winning that game. Massachusetts Pirates at Arizona Rattlers. And then that's it for next week. Okay, you only got 4 games.
I'm picking Arizona. Massachusetts Pirates. I mean, that's number 2 in the Eastern and number 1 in the Western division. So that'll be a pretty good game. Both you got 9-3 versus 9-4. So kind of looking forward to checking that one out.
Yeah, that one's going to be a fun one to watch, especially with the improved coverage that we've talked about in comparison to the NAL. Yeah. This is going to be a pretty solid game to watch. Now, let's talk about the NAL.
Oh, man, this was a week. This was a week for the NAL, and not really in a good way.
No, gosh, no. So I don't remember exactly when the news broke. I think it was before the weekend, wasn't it?
No, it was Monday.
Okay.
No, wait. Hold on. No, it was Friday when it broke, I believe.
Fayetteville. Well, they didn't have a game this weekend. They didn't.
It was Monday. It was Monday. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So Fayetteville didn't have a game the last 2 weeks. Okay. And after this weekend, they folded up shop. They've got no more games.
Yeah.
Okay. We also found out that, again, the anti-Midas touch strikes again. Players with the Albany Empire were paid for the entire season and then had money withdrawn from their accounts because they didn't finish the season.
Yeah.
What kind of crap is that? Like, you paid somebody to do a job, didn't allow them to do the job, and then you take money away from them.
Take money out of their accounts. And these aren't NFL players that have millions in the bank. I mean, these guys need that money, So
these guys
you're messing with people's livelihood here. Like, legit,
They're playing for a salary of around, give or take, 40,000 is the average for the indoor football player. That's like half a year's worth of pay that these guys are counting on. And you're taking away what, like probably 10,000 because they didn't finish out, the last 4 or 5 games of the season. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
And I'm sure that there were vendors that weren't paid. There was the facility that probably wasn't paid.
I mean, the league wasn't paid. That's why they kicked Albany out, so I mean, just
absolute hot garbage. So AB, if you're out there, shame on you, man. Shame on you. Okay.
He's getting sued. That's for sure. I mean,
absolute garbage to treat people that way, man.
Yeah.
That's very reminiscent of what we went through as Commanders fans, seeing hotels getting stuck with bills, players not getting paid, people getting injured and having nothing to help them out. Like, that's just ridiculous, man. You don't do that to people. So poo on them, poo on Fayetteville for packing up shop because they couldn't put up well, I don't even want to say they couldn't even put up a decent team.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. It was they couldn't finance the team anymore. That's what they can't, like, they couldn't afford travel, which I get, hey, I'd rather that than, hey, sorry, we wish we could, but we just cannot pay for this stuff. So we're going to have to shut it down. Versus what AB did and was just, now screw everybody and, take money out of their account. So,
yeah, I mean, at least they didn't do that, but still.
And, they said they're looking for options for next year. We'll see, but
Yes. So, looking at the rest of the league, San Antonio played the West Texas Warbirds again in lieu of playing Albany. And it was a very chippy game.
Oh, yes.
And there were parts that were very unbecoming of both teams. And I get it, right? No team wants to lose 3 times in a row to any team. And
these are 2 Texas teams, so you've got that
Mhm.
that natural rivalry and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
Which is
But
good. That's good for the league.
It started out from the beginning as a slugfest, man.
Yeah.
I want to say West Texas scored first, and then San Antonio answered right back. And then it was just a back and forth shootout for quite a while. San Antonio did take the lead, and then once they got the lead, they held on to the lead, and that's when things started getting really chippy. There were more than a few confrontations. I'm biased, okay? But I'll admit it, that game was pretty much a no holds barred free for all. I saw holding on both sides of the ball, both teams. I saw penalties that should have been called, DPIs, OPIs, all kinds of stuff that was just being let go. And I was like, guys, like, you knew this game was going to get chippy. Refs, you got to get control of this. Yeah. And they weren't saying anything, right? But anyways, yeah. San Antonio wound up winning 3rd time in a row, 69-55. Wasn't even close like the last game was. And it
was, I mean, for the longest time, it was no defense at all. Every team, both teams, whenever they had the ball, they were scoring. And really for 3/4 of the game, the only really difference in it was that kickoff that the Gunslingers had that doinked off the upright that they returned for a touchdown. That was the difference in the game. So I think eventually you had a couple stops in the 4th quarter, but that was the only stops that were in the entire game pretty much. Oh. Jason circling.
Sorry. Yep. It's a rural internet connection.
Are you there? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's that rural internet connection. Anyways, long story short, Gunslingers got the win. But it was ugly. It was dicey. Carolina Cobras and Jacksonville Sharks. That turned out to be a pretty good game, but Carolina did lose to the Sharks, which you kind of expected that to happen. Carolina's a good team, but Jacksonville is a very strong, dominant team, right? So Jackson, all that happened in that game was that Jacksonville extended their lead over 3rd place. Jacksonville is now at 7-2. Carolina's at 5-4. The Mustangs are officially out. So then you've got Orlando Predators at 3-5 at 4th place, and the West Texas Warbirds at 5th at 2-8.
Yeah.
Then of course you'd have Fayetteville and then Albany in their schedules. In their standings and in the way they pulled out of the schedule. Now, Brian got to catch this game a lot more than I did. And so I'm going to share my screen with you guys if I can figure out how to do this. We are going to go to this window. Okay. You guys see the video? Okay.
Oh, yep, it's in there.
Now, we're going to be quiet. We're going to watch this play. Listen to this call. Okay.
Two-point extra point is good. Apparently, I am the only one in the stadium who did not see the signal. The 2-point extra point is incomplete. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Oh.
Offense, number 11. By rule, that will be banked and penalized at the succeeding spot. A deuce cannot be scored with a bank penalty against the kicking team.
Okay. So
That was fantastic. I watched it, I saw it, and then I had to like rewind it so I could watch it again and record it on my phone because that was just so funny. And hey, you know what? Kudos to the official for just, realizing he made a mistake and just having fun with it, So that was really cool too.
true. And I don't disagree with that. But that's why I said, I was coming to you live from the Ray Charles School of Officiating, right? How are you the only official that misses a call on the field? And then you make a call based on it when all of your other referees around you are saying something completely different. You don't even take the time to confer with them. You're just like, oh, it's good.
It's good, yeah.
Joey over there said it's not good, but it's good. Okay?
Oh, absolutely, that was awesome. That was
absolutely putrid refereeing. Okay? Now, let's talk about some other things that are putrid in the NAL. I thought it was something that was just isolated to the San Antonio Gunslingers, but apparently it's not. Okay? The NAL, from what I'm starting to see, and maybe it's only 2 teams in the NAL, but it's 2 teams too many. The NAL has, the San Antonio Gunslingers, and I don't remember what the other team was, Brian.
It was Jacksonville.
Yeah. Okay. They have a hype man running around trying to get the crowd fired up. I get that. Okay. Sometimes you need stuff like that, but do it when it's appropriate. Our guy at the NAL, in the Gunslingers, his name is Charlie something. I don't remember his last name, but I'm 100% calling him out. This guy is the absolute worst. And he makes the game almost unbearable to watch, especially when, like, we had players that were injured. The announcing booth started playing music. Okay? They're in the middle of trying to figure out a play, and the hype man's bringing people out on the field to do the on-field activities, like the little bounce jumper thing for the kids. Again, important part of the game, right? Keeping the kids involved, keeping families involved and stuff like that. But there's a right time for stuff. And absolutely do not run around the auditorium telling people to get their guns up when our offense is on the field. Okay?
And so
our kicker,
to what you were saying, I was watching the game on the broadcast, and there were a lot of times on the broadcast, even them, they're calling out the PA guys. Like, why is Charlie, telling them to make noise on offense? Why is the PA, cheering on, telling them to make noise while on offense? Why are they playing music when they're breaking the huddle? They're like over here doing the chicken dance while, the Gunslingers are snapping the ball. And, they're like, the broadcast is calling out the PA crew, calling out the hype and saying, hey, yeah, cool, do this stuff at the appropriate time, but don't encourage noise on offense. You've got to, the PA has to be quiet once the teams break the huddle. Like that's the NAL rule, and they weren't doing that. Mm-hmm. And so, a bunch of times they got called out on the broadcast for that.
I can specifically speak to this part. They did the chug cam while the offense was on the field.
Yes. So,
and then they stopped for 2 seconds and then went back to the chug cam again.
Yeah.
You don't do that kind of crap, especially when your team is on offense. You do it when there is a break in the play. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's in the middle of a possession, and they're doing this crap. Like they're doing, they were doing playing the Don't Stop Believin', and just showing all the fit while a possession is going on, not during a timeout, not during, a quarter break or change of possession in the middle of a damn possession, like in between the plays.
Yep.
And it's a lack of football knowledge. I don't know. Because I know, the PA announcer, Chris Duell, he is a well-known figure in San Antonio sports. He's, huge sports fan. He was on, I was listening to him on the ticket, 25 years ago. He knows sports. So he should know better than that.
Yep.
And so I don't know if it's the team that's saying, hey, we want this. We want you guys to push this. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for it, but it kind of started off bad, but it's gotten absolutely ridiculous.
That part shouldn't matter. So a name that a lot of high school football people will know from San Antonio, Bobby Stotzenberger. He's the one who does the YouTube broadcast. Before Bobby, it was Robert Quiroga, formerly of the San Antonio Talons. I don't know what happened with that relationship, but he was there last year and then mid-season just dipped out. Okay, and Bobby was there. Then Bobby has since taken over, and Bobby's been doing a great job. Bobby's the one who's calling these people out. Okay, and amen to you, Bobby, for doing that.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. That's extremely unprofessional. It's extremely discourteous to your team and to the fans, and it just makes for poor football. Okay, San Antonio announcers, San Antonio hype man, do better. Do better. Okay, I'm officially calling it out. Do better. You guys have to do a better job. You want attendance to improve, and let's be honest, we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks. Attendance numbers are dropping. At this point, that's almost like there's a fire sale for tickets. Okay. I've got people. I'm a little bit of a football snob, right? I sit on the in midfield line. I always have, always will. Okay. I've got people sneaking into my section because nobody has those seats.
Yep.
I'm literally in that section by myself with two other season ticket holders. Okay. I'm sorry, 4. There's 2 in the row in front of me to my left or to my right, and 2 behind me to my left. All the other seats are open. People are climbing over there from the $5 cheap seats.
Yeah.
Okay, which is fine.
Hey, if no one else is going to sit in them, then yeah, pack.
Right.
And that annoys me too. Like you see a smattering of people in the upper bowl. I mean, they're not checking tickets at the Freeman Coliseum. Go down to fill that lower bowl. At least make it look like it's somewhat full.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, fill the lower bowl that actually gets shown on TV more often. Make it look like there's more people going there, and then more people will show up.
Yeah,
it's basic math. But again, it all starts with the product that's being produced.
Exactly. You've got, the PA, like it, talking at times, when the offensive field, you got the hype guy who's saying, get your guns up on offense. You make noise, they make plays on offense. No, you shut up and they make plays on offense. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the music that's doing this stupid, weird skip stop, between every play. Like, it's just the product that they're putting out is not, it's, I don't want to say it's not good, but you can see why there's not as many people attending these as you think there should be.
Yep.
And I mean, let's the Gunslingers have the best record in the NAL. They've got who's probably going to be the MVP of the league in Nelson. I mean, he's leading the league. He's got 35 passing touchdown and like 19 rushing touchdowns. Absolutely insane. This guy is destroying the league. So you've got the best on-field product, but you're not getting people in the stands, probably because of the game ambiance that the Coliseum, the league, the team is giving the fans.
Yeah. So just like Brian said, right? People don't need to be talking when they're not supposed to be talking. Okay. The announcers should know better than that. And I don't care what the team says. If you want people to show up, you need to respect football etiquette, plain and simple. Okay.
Yeah.
So gunslingers, do better. Okay. That being the case, there are a couple of games left. Let's look at the rest of the week. July 1st, you've got 2 games. The Gunslingers are playing away at Orlando Predators. That should be an okay game, but the Gunslingers should be able to get the win, no problem. Warbirds are playing Carolina Cobras. Carolina Cobras should walk away with the win on that game. Okay. That being the case, that's pretty much the only activity that we're going to have. I will probably watch those games remote. But I can't for sure say that I'm going to catch everything because we actually do have plans for this weekend that are not going to involve any kind of football at all, which is weird. I don't understand that.
Well, that makes no sense.
I know, right?
All your activities should revolve around football, Jay. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, football's starting to wind down finally. And
no, it's not. No, it's not. NFL's right around the corner. Come on now.
Yeah, but there's not going to be much going on in preseason, right? But we'll still watch. But anyways, that being the case, right? I'd say that we have playoff implications. Can't really have playoff implications in a 5-team league.
So what? I mean, what is do we know what their playoff plans are? I mean, what were they before? Was it 4 teams? Are they gonna still keep it at 4 teams? And
I think what they did in the past was that number 1 got a bye, 2 and 3 played each other, and then the winner of 2 and 3 played 1 for the championship.
Okay,
that'd
be fine. Yeah.
Now I don't know with them only having 5 teams, right? I'm honestly genuinely concerned for the health of the NAL. The broadcast product has not been great ever. The teams are starting to drop like flies. We're seeing attendance numbers at least at the Gunslingers games, and then obviously at the Albany games and Fayetteville games were bad.
I mean, Fayetteville, they said they were getting 350, 450 people a game. I mean, San Antonio, they haven't announced any attendance, but maybe 1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, if that, Jacksonville on the broadcast, they announced that it was 4,600, but it didn't look like that many people were in the stands. But
I will say we went to the game this weekend and it was, Star Wars night, and at kickoff time, they were still handing out free lightsabers, and the free lightsabers were supposed to be for the first 500 people.
Yeah.
Now, that could be that maybe the line was just taking a long time. I know we went in early and got ours, but it was not, it did not look good. And so fingers crossed. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'd hate for any league to fold, but that being the case, if the league itself is not able to be financially viable and survive, the nice thing is that next year, some of these teams could be folded into the IFL, or better yet,
or the AFL.
Exactly. So maybe some of the original teams return home. Okay. And then San Antonio could potentially go into the IFL along with West Texas, right? And that would balance it out. Hey, what's up, Marcos? Horns forward, baby. But yeah, things are not looking good for the NAL. And here's the funny thing, right? At the beginning of the season, everybody was talking about how financially sound the NAL was, and how they're going to be the league to beat. Now look at it fall apart, right? Nero played as he watched Rome burn, right? So, again, that being the case, this weekend there's 2 games. Both are gonna probably be messy blowouts. We'll see what happens. But then again, San Antonio is not really notorious for blowout games.
No.
So we'll have to see what happens.
I mean, it's they're 8-1 right now. They're they have outscored their opponents by a total of 23 points in 8 wins. So yeah, they're they like the close games.
Look at Jacksonville. Yeah. If you look at Jacksonville's outscored their opponents almost 200 points.
Yeah. 168 points. They've outscored their opponent. Just crazy.
Yeah, that's just insane. Okay. So Jimmy from Arlington was saying something about 2 IFL players getting an invite to the XFL showcase. We've got XFL showcases coming up pretty soon. I don't see a whole bunch of information about IFL players getting invites, but there are definitely that's going to happen. That's part of the structure, the way it is. Yep. IFL does have a partnership with the XFL, and so we just saw the rookie draft. Right now, we're going to start seeing some of these other players from some of these other leagues, IFL, maybe some from NAL. Obviously, some of the players from USFL are going to be getting released from their contracts. So we're going to see a lot of movement of some of these lower tier leagues. And I hate saying it that way, but they're not
non-NFL. Let's say non-NFL. Non-NFL.
Yeah, non-NFL leagues you're going to be seeing a lot of players moving around. You're going to be seeing a lot of rosters getting bolstered up. Specifically, we're hoping for San Antonio Brahmas. I did see that the Brahmas just picked up a new cat. Let me see if I saved the picture on my telefono. Yes. Lorenzo McCaskill, linebacker from Kansas, was just picked up. And actually, I don't remember who shared this, but that's us rebuilding that defense, right?
Which is important because we got damn near gutted, So, which, hey, you know what? It's kind of what happens when you're one of, if not the best defense in the league. So we expected it, but hey, you got to rebuild. That's the good and the bad of this league.
Yep. So there's lots of other news going on. It sounds like DC is doing virtual meet and greets with the players. Obviously, the players are back home and stuff like that, but they're trying to make sure that the fans are still staying connected there. Here in San Antonio, the San Antonio fans, specifically the Horns Forward podcast and the XFL Brahmas San Antonio fan club, are putting together an event. It's a back to school drive. So it's to benefit St. PJ's home. It is a kind of a halfway house for kids that are in really bad situations and need a helping hand. So we're encouraging everybody that's out there. Definitely thanks to our friend Jackie for putting a lot of this together and sharing this information. But on August 5th from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Point Park, that's at 24188 Bernie Stage Road. Again, August 5th, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Point Park, 24188 Bernie Stage Road. We're going to be having all kinds of events out there and stuff like that. We're encouraging people to pick up school supplies and drop them off for these kids at St. PJ's home. Again, these kids are kids that have not been dealt a winning hand in life, and they just need a break. And so that's where we, as Brahmas fans, and our support and our connection with the community, we can step in and make a difference. So again, make sure you're there. There's going to be all kinds of fun stuff. Let me
and there's a flyer that's around. We'll share it to the Texans Talking Football page, and so that way you guys can see it there. You can go see it on the Brahmas page, on the Horns Forward podcast page. Try and get it out as much as we can. I mean, this is for a good cause, and it's fun, good chance for all of us to hang out, but it helps kids in need. So it's really good thing, a really good event that they're putting on. So definitely encourage everybody to show up, come say hi to everybody, come, and share the info on your pages too. Let's get the word out. Let's make it a good event and help out all these kids. So
yep. And there's even going to be a karaoke spot. And that pretty much heard that it's going to rival our super show that we did from Alamo Beer Hall.
I'm just gonna watch. I don't do karaoke.
I don't do karaoke either.
Oh, you
until
did.
The alcohol kicks in.
You did.
Oh, I did. I did. I didn't do too bad.
It was okay.
I didn't do too good, but I didn't do too bad. Okay. I didn't do too bad. Okay.
I've got it on record. So,
that's all right.
In case I ever need to blackmail you.
Ain't no shame in my game. So, looks like I froze. There, I'm back again. NFL news. Unfortunately, we had to lead off the show with Ryan Mallett passing away, fluke drowning accident. This is, I hate to use this young man passing away as a reminder, but this goes for everybody, all ages. Be safe when you're around water, right? When you're swimming, when you're in a lake, when you're in the ocean, river, wherever, any body of water. Make sure you're being safe, being careful. Make sure you have people around you that are, everybody's kind of keeping an eye on each other, and especially keep an eye on your small children. Okay. It doesn't take much. It only takes about 6 inches of water for somebody to drown in. If you slip and fall, crack your head, get a concussion, face down in water, you're going to drown. Okay. You get a cramp in the pool, something like that, you're going to go down. Okay. Make sure you guys are keeping an eye on each other, especially like if you're swimming and drinking and stuff. Take the proper precautions, right? Have a designated driver for your boat. Make sure you're wearing your life preservers and stuff like that. Take care of each other, guys. It's important.
Especially around San Antonio. We've got a lot of rivers, a lot of lakes, a lot of spots to tube at. We've this is a big weekend for drinking on the water, and it's a lot of fun. I've grown up on the water my whole life, been tubing, gone to Canyon Lake, gone skiing, all that stuff. It's a lot of fun, but just be careful, stay safe, guys. Be smart, like Jay said.
Yeah. So other than that, there really isn't a whole bunch going on in the news. I did, shameless plug. I did see a tweet on Twitter from Kurt Benkert. He had posted a Madden play, and he said, how would you run this play in Madden? And so I shamelessly tweeted back to him, how would you run this play for the San Antonio Brahmas? Come back and show us. Okay. Love me some Kurt Benkert. Sucks that he got hurt in his debut. I think he would be an incredible addition to the squad if he so decides to come back. He probably is not. He's not exactly a young man anymore, especially for a quarterback. And going out with 3 broken ribs, that's a painful reminder that, hey, nobody's invincible. So
a painful reminder that you're not as young as you once were too.
Yeah.
I've never broken a rib, but imagine that hurt. I imagine it hurt when I was, 20. I can't imagine what it would feel like now at 40. So
yeah. So I can only imagine that he's probably making a hell of a lot of money doing his football clinics and because the guy is an incredible wealth of knowledge. He's trained behind some of the best. He has a very, very sharp knack for the game, but he can make money doing that and still be connected to football and not have to break any ribs, right? So chances are he's probably done. But Benkert, if you're watching, we'd love to have you back. At least 2 fans would love to have you back.
Yeah.
Maybe just 1.
No,
but either
I'm
way,
there
man.
too. He was fun to watch. The half the game I got to watch him play, and but
yep, you would definitely be welcome back. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of news going on.
No, we're still waiting on Hopkins, all those, just figure out where they're going to sign.
Hopkins and Cook. I fully expect to see some kind of offer being made public, whether it actually happens or not. But I expect to see some kind of offer being shown publicly after all the dust settles, where somebody offered Hopkins and Cook an opportunity to play together. but the money I'm sure won't be right. Not for both of them. There's no way. Other than that,
I'm still waiting. That Zeke Elliott still hasn't signed. There's I've seen his name attached to a bunch of different teams. Cowboys a little bit. I saw last week potentially the Patriots. I think I saw Tampa in there. So still wait on those. Who else? There's another running back too. Kareem Hunt. Is he the only one who's waiting to see where he's going to be signed?
Potentially.
I believe so.
Cook and Elliott.
He's Kareem Hunt's also a free agent. There's still a lot of players that still remain unsigned. So we'll kind of see what shakes out with those.
Yep. Brock Purdy, we still don't know what his status is going to be come week 1 in the NFL. He could be back. He may not be ready. Who's going to be the backup if he's not ready to go? Are the 49ers actually going to be a threat this year? Nobody really knows.
Actually, did you see this story today? NFL crazy news. Leonard Fournette, I guess, was in an accident and his SUV caught on fire. And he escaped out. I saw it pop up on my alerts, and I just kind of was looking at the story just now. Crazy, SUV catches on fire, but he got out without any injuries. But that's got to be scary as hell.
Yep. Obviously, the AFC is the place to be right now. Right, you've got some of the best quarterbacks in the AFC all stacked up together. I don't know how much Rodgers is actually going to do with the Jets. We don't know. I mean, he's surrounded by half the Packers squad, so I don't expect him to do much different than what he did last year. We'll see what happens. But you've got Mahomes, Allens, Burrow, Jackson, Deshaun Watson is going to be back to full health, right? Yeah. And with a new team, and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. You've got Herbert, Lawrence, and Wilson. Russell Wilson had a bad year last year with a new team. I'm sure he's going to be coming back. He's
supposedly lean and mean this year. So
yep. So AFC is the place to be, baby. I hate to say that to all of us NFC fans, but it looks like the AFC may dominate the entire NFL, just depending on how things break down, especially with a lot of these free agents that still haven't signed yet. But that being the case, other than that, I mean, we really don't have any news on the NFL. I don't think we're going to hear anything until after we start getting deeper into July, when some of the OTAs, really start kicking off and you start seeing people really competing for the 90-man roster and then competing for the 53-man roster, right? So until that happens, I mean, we're kind of at a standstill, but there's still other football to watch, right?
So, always football to watch.
Don't forget, this weekend, you've got the USFL championship. You've got a bunch of IFL games. You can catch any one of those games on the IFL channel on YouTube. Great coverage on all of them. Announcers that know what they're talking about, and hype men that don't talk when the offense is on the field. And then you've got the rookie squad with the NAL that's also on YouTube, on the YouTube channels. Don't expect a whole lot. That's kind of like the Fred's Fish Fry version of for those that know Fred's Fish Fry. That's not going to be necessarily your top tier football coverage, but they try hard. Thanks. So, God bless Bobby Stotzenberger for putting up with all that. So, all right. So that is a wrap. Brian, you have anything else that you want to plug before we go?
No, I do not. That is it. I need to plug my mouth with some tacos. Actually, it's getting a little late. I'm hungry. But no, that's it. Like we said earlier, guys, 4th of July weekend coming up. Be safe. Have fun with your families. Take care of each other. And we'll see you back here next week. From the Warehouse Music Studios, I'm BD.
And coming to you from the Ronnie Millsap School of Officiating, I am SAJ. Horns forward. We'll catch you guys next time.
See you guys later.
Where's my thing?
We know what we're doing.
Professionals. I can't make the thing go to the thing. There's the
Oh, there it
thing.
is.
You know the thing.
You know the thing.